So this is the first building that I'm making. This will be two towers that have floors in them that troops will be able to move through. What I'm going to do is have this be in two pieces so I can break it apart right here just using the regular connections. And there'll be a door on each side and lots of windows around to fire in all directions. And what I'm hoping for is that there'll be some kind of dynamic whereby troops are coming into the building on one side and enemy forces are coming in on the other side, and there'll be some fighting on the different levels. I may also be using this as a piece of terrain in a gang type game, and obviously there'll be a lot of opportunity for people to run around in the buildings for that. Up here on top, I'm probably going to have some bridges that'll be made to go to other buildings, and there'll be a roof that goes around the outside edges of this, and then more pieces will fit down on top of that. So you can either have complete roofs, or you can take it off and there'll just be a maybe 1 inch or 1.5 inch wide rim around the interior where troops can be set. But you can still reach down into the level underneath of it. So let me take these out and show what modifications I've made. So to start with, I cut slots into the bottom of this so that it could accept the knobs on top of the other pieces. They could just slide in from the side, and that works really well. It actually still has enough to help hold on to it. It actually gives it a little bit of latching character to it. The little high cuts here were just me being a little sloppy with the Dremel. I got better with it on the next pair. These are glued together, so that'll stay together as one piece from now on. The other thing I did was I cut these nubs short so that they would fit in easily into the walls with just a little bit of flex. Essentially I can bring it in at any angle, and it will lock it in, but not particularly strongly. And that's okay, because they don't have to be in that strong. They're just going to be resting. Also, they're going to be locked in when these sides fit into the tabs on the other corner, like so. So of course the other modification is that I cut the nubs off of the top of this. So I've already put this part of the building together and glued it together. I'm going to now take this one apart and glue it together. I'm just using straight up regular Gorilla Glue. It's the 2x faster variety, so that I don't have to wait quite as long for it to get done. The nice thing is Gorilla Glue expands, and it'll help fill in the cracks and make sure there's a bond there. This side seems nice and strong already, so this should go real easy. And I'll just go ahead and do it in front of the camera so everyone can see what it looks like. Okay, so now these have all been glued together, and I forgot the deal with the Gorilla Glue is you frequently get little blisters of Gorilla Glue seeping out from your cracks between pieces. Took a little bit of extra cleaning. Maybe I'll use epoxy when I do this again. Something that has like a long set, like a 15 or 30 minute set time. So I did make one error in judgment in building this. On this side, the second floor has a solid column running all the way up here, and that means this piece is anchored, this wall is anchored here and here, which gives it a lot of stability. On the other side, I didn't run these the right direction. I should have ran these the opposite direction. And because of that, this thing only has one anchor point over here. But the cool thing is that this works great. So I'm going to be able to remove these panels very easily and reach down inside. I'm in the process of designing the floor pieces now. So with the columns on top, all I'm going to need to do is make sure that they're running the same direction, and then they should split at the same points. So what I'm doing here is tracing the outline of these pieces onto this black plastic, which will become the floor of these buildings. And so I don't know how clear it is, but there's the trace. I am going to cut these out on a scroll saw. Okay, so there was one reason not to use the scroll saw. The scroll saw is a pretty fast power tool. It can actually just seal the plastic up behind it as it cuts. It actually did a decent job, though. I'm going to go ahead and make the last cut straight across it using just a scoring cut and then bending and snapping, and I'll clean that up. So and in theory, yeah. So this is a cool plastic for that reason. You can see it has a nice texture on this face that sort of matches the texture on the walls of this. I'm probably going to put squares on it just to make it a little bit easier to measure. I'll put 1-inch squares down of one sort or another onto the floor, and that way people can see how far their troops can move without having to stuff a measuring tape inside of it. This is one half of the building all glued together now. I've got the top part glued on. I decided not to use the Gorilla Glue a second time, proving I am capable of learning something. And just use super glue on it. It seems to be holding just fine. So you can see there's the third floor and the fourth floor. Come down through here. You can see them on the second floor and on the ground level. Now this has not been glued together yet because I have a big decision at this point, and that is, do I glue it together and then paint it, or paint it and then glue it together? This is just talking about the floors. And I'm thinking that what I want to do is just go ahead and paint it as is and paint the floors as they are, because this is fairly easy to get in and paint, and I can spray paint it from two directions and make sure, or spray prime it from two directions and make sure it gets decent coverage. Once I get these floors in, that's going to be really difficult to do. Now you can also see what I've done for helping hold the floors up here. I've taken some of these little supports and I had to shave them ever so slightly because this is really thick plastic that I'm using for the floors. But these will help support the floors. This one's being pinned up against the bottom. It will get glued in place to give it more strength to the bottom of this. I figured that would look better than having it half touching those edges. And then you can also see that I've got those supports holding this level up. One more thing I'm still going to need to do is Dremel off these nubs. I already got the one off of this side, but I need to get all of these. And all I'm doing for that is just coming in with the Dremel, using the side of a pretty regular drill bit and just smoothing it off. This cuts through the plastic pretty well. Sometimes you'll get a little glob of plastic, but it pulls right off.